Want to pay bills in a jiffy?
Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. How are you doing, guys? This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be considering the price developments in the USD majors. We have seen most of the currencies appreciating against the US dollar in today's trading session, particularly after the start of the European trading session. We saw the momentum picking up with dollar staying on the back foot, and the same thing is currently ongoing in the North American trading session also. So let us consider if there are any emerging opportunities coming our way in these scenario where we are expecting the dollar to remain on the back foot at least in today's trading session. So we will be trying to look for the buy on dips opportunities in currencies like AUD, GBP, Euro, and other major currencies as well. I think for JPY, things are not looking that strong. We have seen the JPY reversing course from these lows below 131. Right now, it is trading well above 131.5. So for USD JPY, things have now started to go sideways. Earlier, the JPY was actually the most bullish currency. It retained that tag for almost all of the week last week, but since there is a new week, we have new developments where it is seems to be ceding ground to other major currencies which are having better momentum. Particularly, my choice is with the GBP. I was looking at the chart of various currencies before starting this session, and I noticed this GBP being the best placed instrument in terms of its momentum. It started the day higher, then it didn't really correct much. It traded in a very narrow range of around 20 pips for most part of the Asian trading session. After the US trading session started, it picked up the momentum. The European trading session started. It started to make these higher highs and higher lows on these 4 hourly time frames, and particularly after the start of the North American trading session, we have seen these rally of almost 40 pips. Now it is again starting to consolidate on the higher side, but the momentum is clearly in favor of the GBP bulls. So if we have to look for any trade in GBP, my suggestion would be to keep looking for buy on dips opportunities. If we see the GBP USD holding well above this prior swing high, which is now likely to act as the near term support, as long as the GBP is holding well above these highs, we can be fairly confident of its continuation in this trajectory of making higher highs and higher lows. So for us, the next low needs to be higher than this prior low. So that is what we need to observe, keep an eye on for next hour or two if things seems to be stabilizing, and if it doesn't really correct much from these levels, and if it holds the ground, then I think we have a fairly good chance of going for a trade and making money in the GBP USD, with the possibility of GBP USD climbing upwards towards this immediate price level, which is going to be important at least in numerical terms, which is around 1.23. So that level can be targeted, and the possibility is for today's session itself. Even if we look at its charting from the medium term perspective, we still have the favorable formation here in GBP with these hourly formation of the GBP USD suggesting this bullish undertone. It had corrected towards 1.20 level, and from there on, it hold on to these levels, and it has staged a comeback even now in today's trading session. It simply consolidated with this ongoing formation of higher highs and higher lows, and from there on, it picked up the bullish run again, and we have this leader of the pack in terms of this momentum, at least in today's trading session. The GBP seems to be leading the chart, and it is no longer the territory of the Japanese yen. So that is my outlook for the GBP USD. But before we can confirm, of course, we have to consider all the major currencies and how things are shaping up for those currencies, and then we can draw a firm conclusion. Let us consider the Euro USD charting. For Euro USD, the things have started to turn bullish, at least from the intraday perspective. It is no longer going downhill. Earlier in the day, particularly in the European trading session, it was making these lower lows and also lower highs, and it seemed that it might retrace back towards 1.06 level, but it has staged a strong comeback and it has rallied almost 100 pips from these lowest point of the day to the highest point of the day. And at the moment, the situation is quite favorable for the new trade to be taken in this environment where we can expect the Euro USD's bull run to continue as it has regained ground. It has now recovered all the losses which happened on the 15th of March after the Credit Suisse report came in, the bank needing fresh money, and after that we saw these sell off in most of the currencies. There was flight to the safety and that pulled the euro USD down towards 1.05, but as things are stabilizing we are seeing that the various financial instruments are also stabilizing with they starting to resume their prior journey, the prior trend, and that is the same scenario with the euro USD, though it has taken a lot more days to recover these lost ground, but unmistakably the trajectory has been of making higher highs and higher lows. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. And even in today's trading session, I am fairly confident of this continuity in its move on the higher side. But of course, for us, the important thing is going to be that Euro USD should be able to hold around these levels. The prior highs should be respected. Now it should be acting as a support. So we don't really want to see much major correction in the euro from the current levels. And if that holds, then I think we will have many more reasons to believe in the possibility of euro USD climbing back on these steps and going on to levels towards 1.075 or even beyond that. But as I said, with this formation, the Euro USD is not really the best place currency. It has to be considered behind the GBP. We have much more clarity in the GBP. Though in percentage terms, the difference is not much. It is also only slowly climbing up, and euro is also similarly up for the day. But since it was earlier going downhill, we have to give that much advantage to the GBP as it didn't really correct much. It was simply going sideways. So that puts the GBP ahead of the euro in terms of its bullish momentum for today's trading session. Let's consider the developments for other majors like AUD and NZD. The AUD has also turned the corner and it has now started making these higher highs and higher lows in intraday session. For most part of the Asian trading session and the European trading session, the things were looking bearish earlier in the day. Then it started to trend down, sideways, and then it reversed course after the start of the North American trading session. The momentum has picked up, and that is what we are seeing here. Now, if we see its medium-term charting, it is not really different from other major currencies. Most of the currencies against the dollar have this formation of higher highs and higher lows. And for AUD, the difference is in this immediate swing low. Here it was more on the downside compared to the immediate swing low, this prior swing low, and also there is not much of a difference in these two successive highs. So that makes us trade cautiously in the AUD, and on that count, I think it will be better if we trade AUD not as a bullish contender for the continuity in today's trading session. As I said earlier, also we have, but much better momentum in the GBP. From that count, we have the favorable outlook for the GBP in comparison to the AUD. So that is something which we can keep in mind and put the AUD on the back burner. The things are likely to be similarly placed for the NZD. There is not much of a difference. NZD is actually the instrument with the least bullish momentum in today's trading session. For most part of today's trading session, if we look at the Asian trading hours and the European trading hours, it has been trading with these bias on the bearish side as being on the downward side. So same thing is even evident in current formation where it has corrected the most from these immediate swing high. So that puts it as the least favorable instrument to go long against the US dollar and the most favorable instrument to go short against the US dollar. So if you have contra view, if you expect the dollar to start gaining ground against most major currencies, then I think NZD is likely to fit the bill and we can then start looking for the opportunities to go short in the NZD. But as of now, things are still more in favorable for the bullish intraday trades. So for that, we will need to wait. And if things don't really go as per our anticipation, and if it does want to make a fresh swing low below this immediate swing low, then next on next rally, we can adopt a sell on rallies approach for the NZD. Now we will have to invert the scales and consider the currencies like USD CAD, USD CHF, and USD JPY. For CAD, the thing seems to be much in favor of the appreciation of the CAD against the US dollar. Here it is making lower lows and lower highs, so that puts the USD CAD as one of the favorite instrument to go short in. Now, if we consider its medium term charting, the formation is now of lower lows and lower highs. So we have much better momentum in the CAD in comparison to the AUD as well as NZD. So we have to put the CAD ahead of the other major currencies in terms of its bullish momentum against the US dollar. Now, let us compare it to the GBP to see if it is more bullish even than the GBP. GBP made this low at 9.5 GMT, and if we see the chart of the USD CAD, it made this high at around the same level, so there is not much of a difference. And given the fact that we will have much more volatility in the USD CAD simply because both the markets, the Canadian markets and the North American markets, the US markets are going to remain open for much longer. And for JPP, the UK markets are now approaching their closing hours. So on that count, maybe you can prefer to trade the USD CAD ahead of the GBP USD, as we are likely to see the USD CAD remaining volatile for ongoing couple of hours at the minimum. So that makes USD CAD much more favorable to trade with. And in terms of the momentum, there is not really much difference in these two currencies. For USD CHF, the things are now of late starting to turn bearish with this immediate swing low coming in at 0.92399. Now, if we consider the chart of the USD CHF from the immediate perspective on these hourly charting, it is going sideways for last couple of sessions after these move towards 0.9340, and its range has been fairly narrow. It has been trading within these 1 percentage point range for last couple of sessions, and today after getting close to these immediate swing highs again it has reversed course and come back towards these immediate swing lows. So unless there is a clear-cut break on the lower side, I think it will be better to keep looking for the opportunities within this range. There is not much clarity, So we will do well to avoid shorting the USD CHF at the current level. Rather than that, we have much better formations, much more clarity in other currencies. That is going to be a key criterion while deciding to trade. And I would say that USD CHF is not really looking that favorable to short it now. USD JPY is not much different, even it is not really a contender any longer to go short, at least not in today's trading session, as it is likely to consolidate, nor it is much favorable to go long on these current levels. So I think it is better if we overlook these USD JPY for most part of today's trading session and wait till clarity emerges. Maybe then we can think about trading in it, but for the time being it is in no trading zone. There is not much of an clarity, so either going long or short is not really going to bring us much money. It is likely to trade in this range, so that is my expectation for the USD JPY. Before we wrap up the session, let's see what's the story for equities. For equities, the tide seems to be turning with these gains coming in for last couple of hours, with gains being quite substantial. Here, the Dow Jones seems to have gained more than 2 percentage points from these low made during the European trading hours. Now it is not really far off from these yesterday's high, the Friday's high actually, not yesterday's high, and it seems to be simply consolidating in this narrow range. So now I think it is out of question whether to go long or to short. It is simply in a range. So it is going to need more time for the clarity to emerge. I would say that if we go long now, these prior swing high is quite close, so that limits the room on the higher side of the Dow Jones to move higher without facing this hurdle. It is likely to act as the resistance this prior level. So that is going to make the Dow moving higher bit difficult, and as a result of that I would say that we will do well to wait for the things to stabilize, and maybe if it retains the bullish momentum we can think about initiating the trade if it is able to successfully break and hold above this prior swing high. But at the moment it is still trading within the range, and nor it is advisable to go short because it is still in this upward momentum, and things will need to calm down, stabilize, and if it fails to cross and hold above this prior hurdle, then maybe we can think about shorting. So the Dow is also in no trading zone for immediate trading requirements if you are looking to trade. The S&P 500 seems to be much less bullish in comparison to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So if later in the day things turn more favorable for shorting, then the S&P 500 is going to be a better option to trade with rather than to go short in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And for Nasdaq, the things are simply going sideways. It is not really moving much. For other major equity indices, the Dow and the S&P 500, we saw that the momentum is much more favorable for the upside moves, but that is not really the case with the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is simply trading within this range. The volatility is quite less, particularly in comparison to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So here I would say that it is better to wait it out, see how things shape up. And as I said earlier, the Dow is having the best possible momentum on the upside of all these three key equity indices for the United States. And if we see a fresh breakout on the higher side and things seems to hold well, then maybe we can think about going long. But for that, we need the Dow to break and hold these immediate swing highs, and that is going to need some time. So right now there are not many trading opportunities in the equity segment in the United States equity indices. We will have to wait it out mostly if things turn as per our anticipation, then maybe later in the day we can think about going long in the Dow or shorting these two other equity indices, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, depending on how things unfold. And if we get these further confirmation on the lower side, then we will have much more clarity in place as well. I would say that it is better to wait and see for next couple of hours how things unfold, and then take a decision based on these price moves. So that's all from my side for today's trading session, where we discussed the major USD currency crosses in which we are seeing the dollar trading on the back foot, particularly against the GBP and CAD, and also other major currencies are not really far behind, though the momentum is not really equally strong in those currencies. So those are more or less can be considered to be trading sideways with slight bias on the bullish side, whereas for the GBP, the momentum is much stronger. Same can be said about the CAD. In equities, there is not much of an clarity. Things are quite confusing, and as a result of that, I would advise and see if things turn more favorable for trading purposes, then we can relook and decide to trade. But for the time being, for these next couple of hours, the things are not that clear for the equity segment. So that's all from my side. Now I'm wrapping up the session. See you next time around. Till then, goodbye.